Hey guys, it's 258. Welcome back to Bonbon's Acceptance. Which last chapter, I'm bad. I'm mad, cause freaking Bonbon doesn't trust Chris just by the little white lie he said. Also, I say it's a white lie because isn't really dramatic enough to make her, not trust him anymore, which really pisses me off. Anyways, guys, let's just hop right into it, I guess. Chapter 19. Moving forward, Berry Punch walked through the calm and empty streets of Ponyville, making her way to the local hospital on the edge of town. It was a surprisingly warm and sunny day, but it was difficult for her to enjoy the nice weather when one of her good friends was in the very place she was heading. The rumors going around town about what happened to her didn't help either. Somebody said they witnessed a human running in the middle of the night with Bonbon in his arms. Most seemed to think he hurt her in some way, but that didn't make any sense. Okay, first thing, I say it's true because he was the one that caused it, but first thing, if he's the one carrying her to the hospital, why do you think? Oh, whatever. Quackers was a weird alien for sure, but he didn't have a vicious bone in his body. In fact, he was kind of a wimp. It just didn't seem right that he would hurt Bonbon like most ponies wanted to believe. At least he wouldn't have done it on purpose, even if he did harm her for whatever reason. Then why did he rush her to the hospital? Yeah, see. Barry and I are thinking alike right now. There was also the question of why Quackers was with Bonbon in the first place. From what Barry Bunch remembered, she was supposed to be off vacationing with Lyra in some cabin for 2 weeks. It had only been a little over a week since they left, so if Bonbon got hurt, then wouldn't Lyra be the one taking her to the hospital? There were so many questions floating around in her head. She needed to find out if her friend was okay and get the real story. Damn. We gotta get this scoop, boys. Let's get it. I don't know what the fuck's happening. I feel like every time they say a real story, I feel like they're a news anchor. Hey mom, the soft and sweet voice of her beloved little broken condom called to her. What? Yes, Ruby, my dear, Berry replied sweetly, looking over at her pink-coated daughter who was walking next to her. Her little unicorn filly insisted on coming along when she heard what happened. Apparently all her classmates were spreading rumors around as well, and she wanted to find out the truth. You don't think Crackers really hurt Bonbon, do you? Ruby Pinch asked, looking up to her mother with worried eyes. I really don't know, Pinchy. Berry omitted as she continued to talk. I can't see him hurting any pony, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. Ruby went silent as she followed alongside her mother before speaking again. I know everybody thinks he hurt Bonbon, but I know he didn't. He just couldn't have. She insisted, picking up her pace a little. I bet he was saving her from a giant manticore. Oh, you think so? Berry replied with a small smile, holding back her laughter at the ridiculous notion. And what makes you think that? Ruby stuck her tongue out, comfortably in her answer. Well, why else would he be carrying her to the hospital? I bet he used his alien powers to save her because he's awesome like that and he loves her so much. Berry raised a curious eyebrow at the comment. Alien powers? She questioned, looking back to her naive but oh so lovable daughter. I don't think he has any alien powers, Pinchy. I don't think he even has any magic in him like we do. He's about as magical as a rock. He does, Ruby argued quickly with a little hop in her step. He told me so. I bet that's what happened. Oh, I'm loving this. Getting some good side character action over here. You really like him, don't you? Berry asked, smiling lovingly at her daughter. Are you joking? Ruby half shouted, slowing her pace as she stared up at her mother in shock. He's like the coolest alien ever. Pretty sure he's the only alien, unless you're talking about... Yeah, he's the only alien, technically, because, oh, you guys probably already know the other species on your planet which you don't interact with. Berry rolled her eyes before looking ahead again. Ruby's infatuation with the human all started shortly after she let him babysit her daughter for a day. She had to do some emergency errands, and everybody else was busy or out of town. Quack was her only option at the time, but she knew him well enough that, through Lyra to trust him. Now Ruby thought the alien was the coolest thing in all of Equestria. He even helped me buy a cupcake at Sugar Cube Corner once. Ruby continued excitedly as she remembered. And then he did, Berry asked, a little surprised. You never told me that. Yeah, he walked in when I was hanging out with my friends. I ordered a big cupcake, but I didn't have enough allowance left to pay for it. But he gave me the extra I needed. Damn. Really? Berry asked, trying to sound fascinated in her daughter's tale. As he got close to the hospital, that was quite generous of him. Ruby agreed happily with a couple of nods. After that, I asked him to hang with us, and he told us all about the weird planet he came from. She continued with a few little skips in her step. He said that he used to have this small box that he could play games on, like the ones in the arcade, and he had something on it called the interweb, or something that he used to find information or anything he ever wanted, like his own personal library. Twilight will love that. That's nice, Pinchy, Barry replied, zoning out as her daughter rambled. She placed her hoof on one of the double doors to the hospital and gently pushed it open, letting her daughter enter first. Ruby happily skipped into the building and stopped to look around. Ah, I don't see him, she mumbled quietly to herself. Maybe he's with Bond now, Barry said, following her daughter into the waiting room. She continued to walk up to the front desk where she could see a light yellow earth pony mare with a two-tone light blue and curly mane sitting at the front desk. She actually recognized the mare and knew her pretty well. Hey, Snowheart, Barry greeted nonchalantly as she reached the front door. The front desk. I said door. Oh, hi, Barry, sweetheart. Said sweetheart. Snowheart replied, looking up from her work. What brings you in? Is little Ruby due for a checkup? She asked, glancing down towards the filly that wasn't paying attention. Ruby was still searching for the large waiting room. Okay, Ruby was still searching the large waiting room for the tall alien. No, nothing like that, Barry replied. I'm actually here to see Bonbon. Is she able to have visitors now? Snowheart nodded her head. She is, and I'm sure she'd love to have some company. The poor thing had quite a day yesterday. So I've heard, Barry replied flatly. Yes, but Snowheart paused, glancing around quickly before leaning a little. Did you hear how she got to the hospital? She asked in a soft whisper, as if she was discussing something extremely taboo and secretive. That human thing brought her in. Barry said tiredly and nodded. Yeah, I heard all about that. Maybe later tonight we can get together for some drinks and talk about it, Barry said in an effort to drop the subject. Can you let Bond know I'm here? Oh, sure, Snowheart said, as she pushed off from her desk and got up from her stool. I'll go see if she's awake and let her know she has a visitor. I'll only be a moment, she said as she made her way into the recovery rooms, pushing the large double doors open before walking in. Just then Barry heard the front door of the waiting room open behind her. Crackers! Ruby shouted almost instantly, causing Barry to turn around and see the human and Lyra both standing in the entryway. The first thing she noticed about the pair was how stressed they both looked. The second thing she noticed was a pretty sizable bouquet of different colored daisy flowers being levitated in a golden aura next to Lyra. There was no doubt that the flowers were for Bonbon. Damn. Probably been thinking about this a lot. Ruby, what are you doing here? Chris asked once he saw her running up to him. I came here with Mommy to see Bonbon, Ruby explained happily before sitting back on her haunches once she was in front of him. That's why you're here too, isn't it? You both want to make sure your mare friend is okay after you saved her, right? Both Chris and Lyra's eyes widened at the filly's blunt statement. Oh, well, you see, Chris said, awkwardly rubbing the back of his neck. What I mean is, yes, we, well, she's not really our, well, Lyra tried to continue for Chris, only adding to the awkwardness. Hey, Crackers, hey, Lyra, you guys look like you've been through testers and back. Everything okay? Barry asked as she walked up to them, saving them from having to answer her lovably naive daughter. They both sighed deeply in response. Things have been better, Lyra said, hanging her head. Weepy stretched her forelegs out, being like Chris. Crackers, can you pick me up, please? I want to be tall like you. Chris smiled softly for a moment, then looked towards her mother for approval. Barry simply shrugged her shoulders at him. Well, sure, I guess, Chris said, bending down before scooping little filly up in his arms. Ruby instantly burst into a fit of giggles as she lifted up into the air. She rested her forelegs on Chris's chest before looking around once he was standing upright. This is so much fun. I wish I was this tall all the time. Lyra and Barry both smiled up at them as they watched Ruby look around from her new height. So, how you been, Ruby? Chris asked, giving the little filly a little bounce in his arms. You making sure your mom stays out of trouble? Yep, Ruby chirped happily. Barry shook her head in disbelief at how much her daughter seemed to really like the human. Wow, Crackers, I didn't know you were so popular with the fitties, she teased with a cocky smirk. Chris simply shrugged his shoulders with Ruby still in his arms. What can I say? I give some pretty awesome piggyback rides, he teased back. Ruby gasped excitedly. Can you give me one? I want to be even taller. Maybe later if you're good, Chris said, bopping her little nose with his fingertip lightly, causing her to rub the spot with her hoof. But I'm always good. Miss Shirley gives me gold stars all the time, Ruby argued, puffing her cheeks out at him in an angry pout. Chris hummed in mock thought. Well, Shirley's a pretty smart mare, and she doesn't hand out gold stars to just any pony, he mused with a pause while Ruby gave him the biggest puppy dog. He mused with a pause while Ruby gave him the biggest puppy dog eyes she could manage. Alright, you win, he lifted her up over his head before placing her on his shoulders. Yay! Ruby cheered loudly, giggling again as she was placed behind his head. She wrapped her forelegs around his forehead tightly for support before looking down at her mother. You look so small from up here, Mom. Barry giggled softly as she watched Chris and Ruby. It was actually kind of nice seeing how good the human was with her daughter, and it was heartwarming to see how much Ruby was helping to cheer him up. Only reaffirmed her how inaccurate all those nasty rumors the other ponies were spreading about him were. If only he was a pony and didn't have those small eyes. Just be careful up there, Pinchy, Barry said before turning towards Lyra, who had been quiet this whole time. She was smiling up at Chris as she watched him play with Ruby. She was still holding the bouquet of flowers in her magic. I'm guessing those are some get well soon flowers for Bon. Lyra jumped a bit at the mention of the flowers and jerked her head towards Barry as her smile melted into a frown. Oh, yeah, she admitted softly, lowering the bouquet in front of her. I really hope she accepts them, she muttered quietly under her breath. Barry had never seen Lyra so down before. It was kind of depressing and almost scary to see the normally happy and outgoing mare so down in the dumps. Why is the long face? Bond's not dying or anything, is she? What? No, Lyra half shouted in shock. The flowers are just for, well, we wanted to tell her. I mean, it's for an apology, Chris cut with a hint of sadness. An apology, Barry questioned, looking up to Chris with a confused expression. Why would they need to say sorry for her? Were the rumors actually true then? Did Chris or even Lyra hurt her in some way? What do you two have to apologize for? Chris said heavily. It's complicated. Did you not get to her in time to save her with your alien powers? Ruby questioned, resting her chin on top of Chris's head. Not exactly, Chris said with a soft smile. You see, the planets weren't aligned right, so I couldn't get the energy I needed to charge my powers. What is... Okay, Chris. Oh, great. Oh no, Ruby just spared. That's not good, but at least you could get her to the hospital in time, right? Chris chuckled softly. Yeah, I got her in time. Yeah, I got here in time. I got her here in time. Bon will be okay, don't worry. Yeah, that's a real cute story, Barry said sarcastically, but what happened to Bon? Why did you need to rush her over here? And why were you with her? She paused as both Chris and Lyra glanced at each other warily. You guys do know that the whole town's been speculating about what happened, right? They're not saying very nice things. That explains all the looks we've been getting, Lyra said sadly, hanging her head in despair. Barry frowned at Lyra, then looked up at Chris. Ponies are saying you hurt Bon intentionally. Chris shook his head. That's ridiculous. I would never do something like that. He answered entirely with a hint of anger in his voice as he adjusted Ruby on his shoulders. But I was there when it happened, and it was my fault that she got hurt. Chris, don't say that, Lyra snapped quickly, jerking her head towards him. I caused all this to happen in the first place. I'm the real one to blame. No, Lyra, it was out of your control, Chris countered quickly. I was there when it happened, and I was responsible. She wouldn't have gotten hurt if it wasn't for me. Lyra stomped her hoof down in protest. Chris, that's ridiculous. This all started because of me. I'm the one who's really at fault here. She would have never gotten hurt in the first place if I hadn't tricked you two. Damn. They're just having a couple's argument right now. Chris groaned in frustration and pinched the bridge of his nose with his fingertips. I don't want to hear you blaming yourself anymore, Lyra. Bonnie got her peak. Stop! Barry shouted, covering her ears with her hooves so she didn't have to listen to the lovers quarrel anymore. See, Luna, you two, just stop. She dropped her hooves back to the floor and looked between both of their shocked expressions. Barry felt even more confused now after listening to the argument. The only loop of self-pity only managed to bring on more unanswered questions. I just want to know what happened. Please, will somebody just explain it to me? The room fell silent as Chris frowned and looked down at Lyra. Lyra darted her eyes away from Chris and hung her head in shame. It's a really long story, Lyra admitted dryly. Okay, let's just say the first part where Chris hurt her is I was dancing with her and I misjudged a couple things. Then Lyra can talk about why she wasn't there with her. I feel like that's how it should go, but I'm pretty sure Lyra's gonna do the actual story. At this point, Barry was pretty frustrated that she wasn't getting any clear answers. She didn't care how long it would take. She just wanted to know what happened to her friend and why they were acting like somebody just died. Was Bonbon's condition more serious than she originally thought? She started to open her mouth to ask them to continue, but the recovery room door swung open, interrupting her. Bonbon is ready to see you, Barry, Snowheart called, holding the door open. Barry groaned in frustration, but it wasn't like Bonbon wouldn't tell her what happened. Well, I guess that's us, she said, looking up to her daughter. Come on, Pinchy. You don't want to keep Bon waiting too long, and I'm sure Chris and Lyra want to see her after us, unless you two want to come with us. Thank you for offering, Barry, but you go ahead. We'll wait out here, Lyra said, putting on a soft smile. You sure? Barry asked. Lyra and Chris both nodded in unison. It was actually kind of adorable seeing them match each other's actions. We'd both like to speak with her in private, so you go on ahead, Lyra replied, shooing her off with her hoof. I'm sure Bonnie would like to see you much more than us right now. Barry raised an eyebrow at that comment, but shrugged her shoulders. Well, if you say so. Come on, Pinchy, dear. Get off the nice alien's head so we can go see Bon. Ruby tightened her grip on Chris's head, hiding herself behind what little mane the human had. Do I have to? Yes, Pinchy. Now come on, let's go, Barry said as she turned around to face No Heart. Can I stay with Crackers and Lyra? Ruby asked softly. Barry turned back towards her daughter. You don't want to see Bon? I'm sure she'd be happy to see you. You know how much she likes you. But I want to play with Crackers, Ruby half mumbled into a human's mane, causing both Chris and Lyra to laugh lightly. Don't worry, Barry. Lyra and I will watch her for you, Chris reassured her. Well, if you don't mind, Barry said, turning back around before making her way to the recovery rooms. You guys can watch the little twerp for me. I'm a little heart striked right now, I guess. Yay! Ruby cheered with a little bounce. Barry could hear her precious little angel starting to babble on all about her day to them, causing her to smile to herself as she approached the recovery rooms. Right this way, Snowheart said, taking the lead as she walked to the room Bonbon was staying in. Once they reached the room, Snowheart held the door open for Barry. Take as long as you like, and if you guys need anything, don't be afraid to call. Thanks, Snow, Barry said, as she stepped into the rather large room. She saw Bonbon laying in the bed with her hind leg wrapped in a pink cast that was elevated from a sling. So, she broke her leg. That's it? Barry thought to herself, thinking Bonbon would be in a worse condition considering how Crackers and Lyra were acting. Bonbon herself looked almost as miserable as Lyra and Crackers did, but she managed to put on a soft smile and waved a timid hoof. Hey, Barry. I'm glad you're here, Bonbon said sweetly. Yeah, well, I had nothing else better to do, so I figured I might as well, Barry teased with a smirk as she approached the bed. So, I guess you really messed yourself up. Barry stopped herself when she saw a glass tank sitting on the nightstand next to her Bonbon's bed. Her eyes widened considerably when she noticed a very large white spider in the center of the aquarium that was looking right at her. So what in touchwords is that doing next to Bon? She hates those things. Barry thought as she looked over to Bonbon, who was still smiling softly at her. For whatever reason, Bonbon didn't seem to mind that there was a freaking huge spider within a few feet of her, which puzzled Barry to no end. Was she even aware that that thing was next to her? Bon, you know there's a gigantic spider next to you, right? Barry asked warily, pointing a hoof at their aquarium. Bonbon stared at her blankly, then looked towards the spider. Oh, that's just scary. Damn. Scary? You mean it has a name? Barry questioned, dumbfounded. How are you not freaking out right now? I thought you hated spiders. Shh. Bon quickly shushed Barry, holding a hoof to her lips. I don't hate spiders, they just freak me out sometimes, she explained quietly in a whisper, as if she was worried about offending the creature. But I like spiders, they can be nice. Barry's mouth hung open in disbelief as she stared at Bonbon with wide eyes. You like spiders now? Well, I mean, Bonbon started to say, but hesitated, biting her lips. Scary's a nice spider, he never hurt any pony. Barry walked up to the aquarium to get a better look. The spider was just laying there in the dirt with a tired and dreary expression. He seems kind of sad, is he okay? Bonbon said as she watched her spider friend. He's not sick or anything, at least as far as I can tell, he's not, but he's kind of upset with me. The spider is upset with you? Barry questioned, finding that statement utterly ridiculous. She groaned softly and rubbed her temple with a hoof as a headache started to form. It was hard for her to wrap her mind around this spider that Bonbon didn't seem to have any issues with. At last she remembered. Bonbon was deathly afraid of spiders, but now she likes them. Not only that, but the thing was upset with her too. Alright, I'll bite, Barry said dryly, dropping her hoof down. Why is the spider, Scary, upset with you? Well, Bonbon started to explain, but hesitated as she looked down at the sheets that were covering her chest. He's upset that I told Chris and Lyra to leave yesterday after they came to see me. So, you kicked them out, huh? Barry mused as she thought about why she would want to do that. Is that why they're both in the waiting room right now with a large bundle of flowers for you? Oh no, they are? Bonbon asked, sounding worried. Barry blinked a few times in confusion. Is that bad? She questioned, sounding befuddled. What, you don't like flowers or something? No, it's not that, Bonbon said as she fidgeted with her forehead on top of the sheets. That's a very sweet thing for them to do, but I don't know, I'm just so confused. You and me both, sister, Barry thought as she sat back on her haunches, getting a little more uncomfortable. Would you like to explain to me why Crackers and I are out there acting like somebody just died? And can you tell me why you now have a pet spider when I know for a fact that you have a phobia of them? Bonbon kept her head down, not daring to make eye contact with her friend. It's complicated, Barry. Where have I heard that before? Barry questioned to herself sarcastically. fighting the powerful urge to grow them from frustration. Well, I'm a pretty good listener, and while you're at it, I'd also like to know why Crackers was the one that rushed you to the hospital when you were supposed to be on a vacation with Lyra. I don't know, Barry, Mama said quietly. It's a long story. Barry rolled her eyes, aggravated that she had to hear these same excuses for a second time like today. She looked around the room and spotted a stool in one of the corners. She walked over to it and used her muzzle to push it over to the bed. Once it was in position next to Bonbon, she sat on it and got comfortable before crossing her forelegs over each other, then faced Bonbon expectantly. Well, I'm in the mood for a good long story, so let's have it. Bonbon stayed quiet for a moment, tapping her hoofs together nervously. If I tell you what happened, will you promise me that you won't repeat what you hear, Tiny Pony? Right, because you know me, always spreading around gossip about my friends, Barry joked sarcastically. I'm serious, Barry, Bonbon said sternly, looking towards Barry with pleading eyes. What I'm about to tell you can't leave this room. As your friend, I promise I will tell no pony, as added. Oh, this is a room? I thought it was just one of those curtain areas. As added insurance, Barry carried out the motions of the pinky promise while chanting, cross my heart, hope to fly, stick a cupcake in my eye. Bonbon smiled gently at her friend. Thank you, Barry, she said before sighing deeply. Where do I even begin? Well, usually when you're telling a story, it's best to start from the beginning, Barry pointed out bluntly. Then I guess I should start by telling you I was in the cabin with Lyra, Bonbon admitted quietly, looking down at her hooves that were nervously rubbing the sheet on her chest. Barry tilted her head in confusion. Were you up there by yourself? Fuck no. Bonbon shook her head. Bonbon shook her head. I was with Chris. Lyra tricked us both into thinking that we would be taking vacation with her in the woods, but then we got to the cabin. She paused and looked towards Barry with a weird expression. Please don't tell any pony about this. Bon, Barry said flatly, glaring at her. Certainly, you can't trust me. I'm not going to tell any pony. Bon took a deep breath before continuing. Okay, I wasn't in the cabin with Lyra because she sealed me in there with Chris. She put a barrier around the cabin that was supposed to keep us locked in there for at least 2 weeks. Whoa, what? Barry half shouted in shock, pricking up as her ears widened. You're joking, right? Bonbon shook her head in response. Whoa, Barry said, simply placing a hoof on her forehead in disbelief. I always knew Lyra was a bit of a nut, but I never would have thought she would do something that extreme. It was no wonder Lyra was blaming herself for what happened earlier. But what she did was kind of a big deal. But Barry knew how much Bonbon loved Lyra, and she swore to keep everything she heard in this room a secret. So she wasn't about to go against her word to her friend. She just hoped Bonbon knew what she was doing. Barry took a deep breath, dropping her hoof back down before continuing. Okay, so what happened when you were left with Crackers? A lot happened, Bonbon said simply. She proceeded to tell Barry about everything that went on in the cabin. She told her how she locked herself up in the bedroom for the first couple of days, but Chris begged her to come out and even brought her food. Then she explained to her how he broke into the bedroom on the very next day to save her from the spider that was currently resting in the aquarium next to her. After Chris saved me, he just didn't seem as terrifying anymore. We just started to talk and get to know each other, Bonbon explained with a soft smile. She reminisced. I started to see what kind of stallion he really was, and I found out that we would actually share a lot of similar passions and interests. He was just so nice, and we actually had a lot of fun together in the cabin. Okay, wait, Barry said, scratching the back of her head with the edge of her hoof, giving Bonbon a confused look. You're saying that you started to have fun and actually ended up liking Crackers just like Lyra said you would? I did. Bonbon admitted with a slight nod, but then I broke my leg right after that. Chris picked me up and rushed me to the hospital. That's when I blacked out and woke up here. I thought you said Lyra's spell was supposed to last 2 weeks, Barry questioned. How did he carry you out? That's the problem, Bonbon shouted, throwing her forelegs in the air before letting them fall back to the bed. Chris knew the spell was broken and he never told me. Well, hold on a second, Barry said quickly, holding a hoof up in the air. Let's rewind a bit. You're telling me that you started to talk to Crackers and found out that you actually like him, right? Bonbon nodded her head in response. What kind of like are we talking here? Like the romantic kind or... Again, Bonbon nodded. Really? Barry shouted in shock. She stared at her friend in disbelief for a short moment, but then started to gain a devilish grin. So, she started to say, pausing as she leaned and gazing into Bonbon's eyes with a seductive stare. Did you two, she ended her question with a suggestive wink. Barry, Bonbon shouted with wide eyes and bright blush. Barry leaned back and held her hooves up in a defensive manner, unable to hide her now wide and knowing grin. Hey, I'm not judging. All I'm saying is that it can get pretty boring being in a cabin with nothing else to do. It's not like that, Bonbon shouted quickly, trying to defend herself. You're alone, just you and Crackers stuck in some strange, boring cabin. I mean, he's a pretty tall alien. He has to have a really unique and huge... That hardly matters, Bonbon shouted angrily as her whole face burned in a bright crimson. He lied to me and betrayed my trust. Okay, okay, I get it, Barry said, waving a playful hoof at her as she tried desperately to hold back her laughter. I was just messing with you. Bonbon scowled and turned her head away, still blushing brightly. Hey, come on now, Barry said, placing her hoof on top of Bonbon's foreleg that was resting on the bed. I'm just trying to lighten the mood here, so you're upset that he didn't tell you that you two could leave? Bonbon nodded her head. Do you know if for sure if he knew about it before you broke your leg, or did he get lucky and find out after it happened? Barry asked, rubbing Bonbon's reassuringly. He said he knew that it was open before the accident. Bonbon said, slowly looking back to Barry. Did he have a reason for not telling you? Barry asked softly. Bonbon's frown started to soften as she thought back. He told me that he didn't want me to stress about coming back to Ponyville. Barry waited to see if Bonbon would go on, finding that excuse a little disturbing. Was that it? That's kind of questionable if you ask me. No, there was more, Bonbon added with a sigh. He said he just wanted me to relax so he could give me a nice romantic day. He thought that if I knew about the door being open, then I wouldn't enjoy our date that we planned together. You two had a date planned, Barry asked as she leaned back and let go of Bonbon's foreleg, thinking to herself, okay, well, that sounds a little better than just not wanting you to worry about going back home. I can kind of see why he would think that, though it's strange that he wouldn't tell you about it. I know, I just can't understand why he did that, Bonbon said softly as she messed with the sheets on the bed. Why couldn't he just tell me? If he would have told me that he wanted to stay in the cabin for a little while longer, I would have stayed. I just don't know what to think about him anymore. Her eyes started to water as her voice began to waver. I just got so upset and confused. I just couldn't think. I got scared. So scared. Why were you scared? Barry questioned softly, frowning sadly at her friend. What if Chris was just lying to me about more than just the door being open? What if he lied about who he was? Bonbon sobbed softly. What if he becomes another Silverwing? Silverwing, Barry repeated, surprised to be hearing that name again. That Featherwing you dated years ago, what do you think Crackers would be like him? I don't know. I like him so much, Barry, Bonbon admitted, wiping her tears from her eyes with the hoof. He seems so perfect for me, almost too perfect, just like I thought Silver was. Well, let's just think about. What if he was lying to me about everything and just wanted to sleep with me? Bonbon half shouted in anger. Lyra could have told him what to say so he could impress me. It's just not fair. Why do stars have to be so complicated? She groaned loudly before covering her face with her hooves. You don't have to tell me about complicated stallions, Barry grunted sarcastically, thought gritted teeth, remembering her own experiences with him. Bonbon sniffled a few times before taking a deep breath. She dropped her hooves back to the bed before facing Barry again. I'm sorry, Barry. I didn't mean to drop all this drama on you. Barry shrugged her shoulders. Hey, it's what friends are for. Plus, I'm used to a little drama from you every now and then. Bonbon frowned sadly, looking to her about her blunt statement. Hey, I'm teasing you, Barry reassured her. Now, about this Crackers lying business. Do you really think he'll lie about everything just to go get under your tail? I don't really know. Okay, well, how long have you known him? Like, truly known him? Has he lied anything about anything else? Bonbon started to roll her hooves around each other slowly as she thought about this question. He wouldn't tell me that he couldn't eat certain flowers when I tried to cook for him. She paused as she reminisced some more. Other than that, I'm not sure. I haven't really known him for that long. I used to avoid him. It wasn't until we started talking in the cabin that I started to actually meet him. Barry hummed to herself, rubbing her chin with the back of her roof. Well, to be honest with you, Bon, a week really isn't long enough to truly know something in my book. Bonbon glanced at Barry, then looked back to her roofs. She started to argue, but I stopped. I guess it really hasn't been that long, but I still don't know if I can trust him. Hasn't he been with Lyra for what, like a year now? Barry questioned. And Lyra has been your friend for almost your whole life. I mean, do you really think they would both lie to you just so they could take advantage of you? Yes. Good point, Barry. Good. I never thought actually about. Yeah, it was a year now. Bonbon opened her mouth to reply, but hesitated and slowly closed it as she thought more about that question. Don't get me wrong, Barry continued. I'm not saying what they did to you wasn't wrong, but maybe it's not as bad as you think. Bonbon stayed quiet, frowning sadly as she stared up at the ceiling, contemplating Barry's words. Listen, Bon, Barry said, scooching the stool a little closer to the bed. I know what Silver did to you was awful. I'm not going to deny that, but the thing is, we've all been hurt in life. I've learned first off that you can't let what happened in the past stop you from actually living. I was pretty out of it when Pinchy's father decided to leave me after she was born, but I realized that it was for the best. He wasn't cut out for the family life, and I would have been miserable if I tried to make things work with him. But I'm happy with my little Ruby now, and I don't know if I would be if I couldn't let go of the past. She's the best part of my life now. Damn, that just got... Bonbon smiled after Barry admitted her love for her daughter. But her expression soon turned into a more neutral one. She remained motionless as she gazed up at the plain white ceiling as if it was the most interesting thing in the world, seemingly lost in her thoughts. Well, that's all the advice I got for you, Barry said flatly. I know your situation is a lot different than mine, but don't let that sewer wing jerk stop you from living your life. Don't let him have that too. Maybe you're right, Barry. Baba finally said, turning her head towards her friend. I've been hurt for so long, and I've never been able to truly get over what Silver did. That's not exactly fair to Chris or Lyra, she sighed deeply. Do you think I should have gotten upset? Did I overreact? Barry shrugged her shoulders. I wasn't there, so I'm not sure. From the sounds of things, I think you had every right to be angry. What do you think I should do? Bonbon asked with a hint of strain in her voice. Do you think Chris is like Silverwing? What do I think? Barry asked in shock, holding a hoof to her chest. I honestly have no idea. I don't know Crackers as well as you or Lyra. I mean, he seems friendly enough, but that's something you need to figure out yourself. She paused and smiled as she remembered how well the human was with her daughter. I will say though, little Pinchy can't seem to get enough of him. Ruby likes him? Bonbon questioned, perking her ears up. Yeah, she couldn't stop talking about him on the way up here. I'm not sure what Crackers did, but Ruby thinks he's the coolest thing ever. She's actually with him and Lyra right now, playing in the waiting room. Mama smiled at that before sighing deeply. So, Chris and Lyra are both here, and they brought flowers for me. Pretty ones too, Barry added with a knowing grin. Mama's fidgeted with her hooves nervously as she thought about that. Well, thank you for talking with me, Barry. I'm really glad you came over, and I think you're right. I have to let go of Silver. I can't keep comparing every stallion I meet to him. That might be a good start, Barry agrees. So what are you going to do now? I'm not sure. Yeah, but I need to talk with both of them, Bonbon said as she smoothed out the sheets on her chest. Maybe we can all figure something out. Barry placed the hoof on top of Bonbon's foreleg, stopping her movements. I think that's a great idea. Get their side. And if I could put it in my 2 bits, I think they both really care about you. I always know how to attract the weird ones, Bonbon said with a soft giggle. Barry smirked at him knowingly. Buck, yeah you do, she shouted, slugging Bonbon in her shoulder playfully. That's what I keep telling ya. The two friends laughed at their lame inside joke before letting the room fall into a peaceful silence. After a while, Bonbon's smile slowly melted into a concerned frown, and she took in a deep breath before letting it out slowly. I do know they both care about me, and I might have forgotten that in my panic last night. I just hope they're not too upset with me for kicking them out yesterday. Barry chuckled lightly. Hey, you can always blame it on the painkillers, right? That is true, I guess, Bonbon agreed softly. I was pretty out of it yesterday. Barry leaned back on their stool and stretched her forelegs, yawning loudly. She blinked a few times and looked to the clock that was on the wall. Oh well, we talked for quite a bit, didn't we? Barry turned back to Bonbon, who was also looking at the clock now. Yeah, we did. I'm sorry I kept you here so long, Bonbon apologized softly. I hope you didn't have somewhere to be. Well, she wanted to be there for a good story, so... Nah, Barry said, waving a dismissive hoof at her. It's like I said, I had nothing better to do, so I figured I'd come over to see how you messed up you were. She teased out through the grin. I probably should go, though. Plus, I'm sure Crackers and Lyra are just dying to talk with you. She got up from her stool and stretched out all her limbs one at a time. Yeah, Bonbon said with a sigh. Thanks again for talking with me, Barry. No problem, Barry said nonchalantly. As she turned around and made her way to the door, she stopped just a few feet away from the entrance and looked back to Bonbon. We should go out for some drinks when you're feeling better. I'd like that, Bonbon replied warmly. Barry smiled and turned to the door, placing her hoof on the handle, but paused with a slight frown. Bon, she called in a serious tone, looking back to her injured friend. Yes? Be careful, okay? Barry said in concern. I know you care for Lyra and Chris, but what they did to you was pretty serious. I won't tell any pony, but I just want you to know that I'm always here if you need a friend. Bonbon smiled and nodded her head in understanding. Thank you, Barry. That means a lot to me, but I'm sure everything will be okay. Barry nodded as well and opened the door before heading out of the room. Later, Bonster, she said, shutting the door gently behind her. Bonbon watched as her friend left, leaving just her and Scary all alone in the room. She looked over to Scary, who was surprised to see him up and about. Feeling better? Scary just tilted his head at her curiously. It's okay, Scary. I think I know what I should do now, Bonbon said softly. Scary shook his body quickly before settling himself into the ground. He used his back legs to flick some of the dirt in the aquarium onto his back before relaxing himself completely. Bonbon wasn't sure why he did that, but it was quite amusing. She held back a laugh at the spider's expense as she watched him fondly. Oh, Scary, I'm glad you're here with me. She let out a soft sigh, then turned her gaze towards the closed door. Chris and Lyra would be walking in any moment now, and she needed to collect her thoughts. Talking with Barry definitely helped her to see things more clearly. She had every right to be angry, but there was no doubt that she overreacted to what happened yesterday. Taking in a deep breath to calm her nerves, Bob thought about what she wanted to tell Chris and Lyra. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps in the hall could be heard, breaking her concentration. Bob perked up, listening intently as the steps got closer, then stopped right in front of her room. Soon the sound of the soft mumbling could be heard. Whoever was out there, they were talking to themselves, but it was hard to make out what they were saying. She tilted her head and pricked her ears right at the door so she could hear the voice better. She could make out two voices, and then she recognized them as Chris and Lyra, but it was impossible to make out what they were saying through the thick hospital walls. Giving up on trying to hear them, Bob relaxed and laid back on the bed, waiting impatiently for them to come in. She was nervous about confronting them both about what happened, but this needed to be done. If they were all going to move on from this, then she needed to come forward and tell them where she stood. No more hiding her fears and concerns, no more shying away from what she felt. The handle started to move, interrupting her thoughts again. Baba watched it closely as the door creaked open, revealing Chris, who was holding the door open with one of his arms hidden behind his back. He looked tired and stressed, just like Barry had mentioned before, but most of all, he was sad. Glad you noticed that. Lyra walked out from the edge of the doorway, looking even worse than Chris did. In fact, she looked the same as she did yesterday, maybe even worse. She slowly walked into the room, keeping her haggard and exhausted eyes locked with Bonbon's. The entire time as she approached, Chris shut the door behind them, making a valiant effort to keep his back out of sight, still holding his arm behind him. Lyra reached the edge of the bed first, with Chris only a short distance behind her. She sat back on her haunches and looked away, biting her lip nervously. The room fell silent as the trio remained motionless for a time. Bonbon opened her mouth to say something, but was quickly cut off. Oh my god. Bonnie, wait, Lyra said in a wavering voice as she looked into her eyes. Before you say anything, we have something that we both want to tell you. Bonbon blinked a few times, glancing between them as she waited for one of them to speak. Crystal and Lyra both glanced at each other before nodding. I'll go first, Lyra said as her eyes began to water and glisten in the light. She turned back to Bonbon, taking a deep breath. Bonnie, she said, hesitating as she gazed into her eyes with a worried and sorrowful frown. We've been friends for as long as I can remember, and I've loved you for just as long. Lyra, Wait, Lyra interrupted quickly, placing her hoof on top of Bonbon's chest. I want you to hear this before you say anything. She removed her hoof, placing it back on the floor as more tears started to swirl in her eyes. I love you, and I always will, no matter what happens, and I know what I did was wrong, she admitted softly, shutting her eyes as a single tear trailed down her cheek. I betrayed your friendship and love, all because I thought you belonged with Chris, like I belonged with him. I wasn't thinking clearly. I truly believed that what I did was right. She visibly clenched her teeth for a moment, trying to hold back more of her tears, screwing her eyes shut tightly. She relaxed again, taking a deep breath before continuing. It's only now, when it's too late, that I can see how blind and stupid I was. Mama frowned deeply. She couldn't stand to hear Lyra beat herself up like that. She went to reply, but Lyra continued, I was a bucking idiot for what I did to you both, and I'll never forgive myself for what happened. Lyra slowly opened her eyes again, looking over to Bonbon. I wasn't thinking about your safety when I came up with my plan, and I think Celestia that my spell broke when it did. She paused and sniffled a few times before wiping her slightly running nose with her hoof. Ew, Lyra, Bonbon thought as she winced but stayed silent and listened. What I'm trying to say is, I love you, Bonbon. I love you with all my heart, and I don't want to lose you because I wasn't thinking clearly. I know I messed up a big time, and I'll never do anything like this again. You don't have to do the hurt if you don't want to, and I'll never bring it up ever again, but she hesitated, looking away for a moment. But I need you in my life. If not as my lover, then as my friend. Please just don't leave me. Lyra, Bonbon said sadly. She was going to say more, but Chris walked up next to Lyra and knelt down. Okay, are both of them not gonna just let her talk? Bonnie, Chris started to say, hesitating for a moment as he looked into her eyes nervously. I want to apologize for lying to you and keeping the door a secret. I really have no excuse for why I did that. I know what I did has caused you to lose your trust in me, but I'm being completely honest when I say that. He paused, taking a deep breath, letting it out quickly as his eyes started to water as well. Everything I said in the cabin was true, every word of it. The person you met in the cabin was the real me, and it was never going to impress you or take advantage of you. I just wanted to be your friend. Bonbon stared up at him, frowning deeply, not sure what to say. I know it must be hard for you to believe me, but Chris said sadly, but hesitated as if he was trying to think of something else to say. I just hope you can forgive me somehow. I don't know what I can do to gain your back your trust, but I don't want to lose your friendship. I'll do whatever it takes to prove you that I'm honest when I say that I care about you. We both want you in our lives, Bonnie, Lyra continued with Chris. We know this isn't enough to make up for what we did, but we hope it's a start. Lyra's horn started to glow, causing a large bouquet of blue and pink and yellow daisies to float around from behind Chris's back. Bonbon watched the flowers slowly drift towards her. She reached her forelegs out and took the offering, holding it gently in her forelegs. The first thought that entered her mind was how much this must have cost them. It wasn't cheap to buy flowers like this during the wintertime. We wanted to find you some fire lilies, but you know how rare and expensive those are, Lyra said with a forced laugh. If you want us to leave you alone again, we will, Chris added. We just wanted to let you know how much we care about you, Bonnie. Papa looked down at the bundle of flowers in her hooves, tilting them around a bit, steadying them. Chris sighed deeply. We'll leave you alone, he said, making his way to stand up with Lyra following his lead. Wait, Bonbon said softly, causing them both to freeze and look towards her with a confused expression. She smiled to herself and took a moment to smell the flowers. These flowers are lovely. Thank you both. And I guess it's my turn to apologize, she said, looking up at their now stunned faces. Chris and Lyra both glanced at each other, but turned back, taking their original spots next to the bed, and waited patiently for Bonbon to continue. Bonbon's smile slowly melted into a frown, and she looked back at the flowers in her hooves as she stroked them gently. I feel like I overreacted to what happened yesterday. I got really scared and panicked. I'm sorry for kicking you both out like I did. But why? Chris half shouted, sounding distressed on her. Why are you afraid? Why? Are you afraid? I just don't understand. Are you still afraid of me? I just don't understand. Bonbon stroked the flowers again, not daring to look up at him as she thought about what she wanted to say. I hate to admit it, but I was afraid because of what we went through in the cabin. Lyra looked back and forth between them with a worried and puzzled expression. I don't understand, Chris said quietly, sounding baffled. Was it something I did to you? Mama shook her head before looking up at him. It wasn't what you did, it was what Silver did. That jerk you dated before? Chris questioned. But I'm not Silver. I would never do something like that. Bonbon sighed deeply. I know you're not Silver, but I was afraid you could become him. I want to explain to you why I felt like that, but before I do... She paused and turned her gaze to Lyra, who was giving her an odd stare. Lyra raised an eyebrow at her. Yes? Bonbon smiled softly at her. You were right. Lyra stared at her blinking a few times. I was right? She questioned, sounding confused. Whoa, wait, you mean... Her eyes widened in realization, and her head started to crisp before quickly turning back to Bonbon. You mean about you and Chris? Bonbon looked to Chris curiously. Did you not tell her what happened yet? No, Lyra quickly shouted in frustration. He wouldn't tell me anything. He said he wasn't sure what to say, and he wanted to wait until you were ready to talk about it. Yeah. That's my boy, Chris, keeping this shit private. Yes. I just didn't know if you wanted to keep what happened in the cabin private, Chris made it softly. It seemed like you were really upset and didn't want to do the hurt anymore, so I didn't know what to say. What? Lyra shouted even louder this time. You mean you wanted to do the herd? Almost smiled a bit more and blushed lightly at Lyra. I'll tell you what happened later, but I need to explain to you both why I got so upset yesterday. She looked towards Chris with a frown. You have to understand, Chris, I really care about you. I really started to like you a lot, and that's what scared me. Chris and Lyra both gave her a confused look, but waiting eagerly for it to continue. Bonbon sighed heavily. I cared about Silverwing too. I even thought of him as the love of my life, the one that I would raise a family with, and we would grow old together, but you both know how that ended. Both of them nodded their heads in understanding. I don't have to tell Lyra how hard I took it. Okay, I don't have to tell Lyra how hard I took it when he left me, she said, looking towards Lyra sadly, but that's why I freaked out when you told me you lied about the door, Chris. She continued, turning back to him. I thought I could trust you, then I found out you were keeping the door a secret from me. I couldn't handle it. I started to remember how much I cared for Silverwing, and how everything he told me turned out to be a lie, and I didn't know what to think. I didn't even know how to describe it, but I just wasn't thinking clearly. I just panicked. Chris frowned deeply. I'm sorry I did that, Bonnie. I don't know what else to say. I don't have a good excuse for what I did, except that I was an idiot and messed up. It's really not your fault, Chris, Bonbon admitted, placing the flowers she was still holding down on the bed, letting them rest to her. I'm still not over what Silverwing did to me, and it might take me a while before I can put that behind me, but it wasn't fair of me to think that you would be like him. That doesn't mean I'm not upset for what you did. That was a big thing to keep from me, Chris, she said with a hint of sadness. I understand that I overreacted yesterday, but you should have told me that we could have left. She turned her attention to Lyra before continuing, and I'm still upset about how you sealed us both in that cabin, Lyra. Lyra frowned and looked away, drawing a circle on the floor with the edge of her hoof. I'm really sorry, Bonnie, she said with a shaky voice. I really messed up. Big time. I'm just very disappointed in you both, Bonbon said flatly. So, does this mean that you don't want to do the herd now? Lyra asked in a somber tone. Well, Bonbon started to say, smiling softly as she fidgeted with her hooves. I didn't say that. She blushed and started to tap her hooves together nervously. I'm actually kind of glad this happened, she admitted, glancing over to the broken leg. You're glad? Chris questioned in disbelief. What do you mean? Bonbon pressed her hooves together and looked up at Chris. I think we let things get a little out of hoof when we were in the cabin, especially after I got over my fear. Fear? What fear? Lyra asked in concern. You don't regret what we did, do you? Chris asked, sounding hurt and worried. What? Lyra half shouted. What did you guys do? No, Chris, Bonbon said, ignoring Lyra's outburst as she shook her head. I really enjoyed myself, and I don't regret anything. What are you two talking about? Lyra asked, rubbing the side of her face with her hoof in confusion. I'll tell you later, Lyra, Bonbon said with a blush. Maybe we didn't move a little fast, Chris admitted Sally. Bonbon nodded her head. This whole event helped me to see that, and I think we should just take things slower from now on. I already know that Lyra is the love of my life, but she paused, pushing her brother, which caused Lyra to perk hers up at her. But I know that because of how long I've known her for. Honestly, can't see living my life without her now. Bonnie, Lyra whimpered as she lightly covered her lips with her hooves, tearing up at her words. Bonbon smiled at her before looking back at Chris. Chris, she said softly, pausing it for a short moment. I think you're a wonderful stallion. You're kind, caring, and, well, she hesitated as she bit her lip for a brief moment. I find you quite attracted, but I feel like I still don't know the real you. We've only really known each other for a little over a week. I still want to try the herd, but I want to get to know more about you before we do anything else. You mean that? Lyra stuttered in a soft whimper as more tears started to form in her eyes. She sniffled a few times as her nose started to run again. You really want to give the herd a chance? Bonbon giggled softly and nodded her head. Oh, Bonnie, Lyra cried as she lunged forward as she wrapped hooves around her, squeezing her chest tightly as she wept softly. Bonbon grunted as softly as light pain shot through her leg once Lyra collided with her. The pain wasn't as bad as it was before, thanks to the magical treatment and pain medication she was given. It hurt, but she could deal with it. Bonbon embraced the hug and wrapped her hooves around Lyra, holding her lovingly. Chris came in from behind Lyra and wrapped his arms around both of them, hugging them tightly. Bonbon wrapped one of her hooves around Chris, pulling him deeper into the embrace, then stayed like that for a long while, enjoying the closeness of one another as the room fell into a warm, uncomfortable silence. Only the sound of Lyra sniffling could be heard between them. I want to redo our date at the every free moon, Bonbon said softly, causing them all to loosen their grip on each other and lean back a little. The doctor said I should be able to leave in a few more days. As soon as I can, I'd love to take you both there. My treat. Bonnie, you don't need to do that, Chris said. I think we still have the bits we saved up from last time that we haven't used yet. He looked to Lyra for confirmation, and she nodded in response. Bonbon shook her head. I want to treat you both. Think of it as an apology for all I ran out the first time. How about, Chris mused, pausing to think for a moment, we pay for the main course, then you can pick up the dessert and wine. Bonbon rolled her eyes, but smiled all the same. She knew Chris wasn't going to let her get away with paying for the entire night, but she could agree to the compromise. Okay, deal. They leaned back, ending the embrace, and Bonbon rested herself on the bed before looking up to Chris. I might need you to help me in the shop right away. That is, if you still want to. I don't think I can get much done with this broken leg now. Of course I do, Chris reassured her quickly with a slight nod. I'll let the girls know today that I'll be working with you now. Thank you, Chris, Bonbon said softly before saying. The doctor also told me that I might be in this cast for a month or more. It's going to be difficult trying to do things at home for a while. I'll help you, Lyra offered quickly. I can move back in, help you until you're all better. I'll even cook for you. Bonbon visibly winced at that, but before she could say anything, Chris spoke up. No offense, Lyra, but your cooking isn't exactly the best. How about I come down and cook for both of you? Well, Bonbon mused as she thought about both her offers. I think I could definitely use some help at home, Lyra. That is, if you don't mind moving back in with me for a while. I don't mind at all, Lyra said quickly. I would love to be there for you. Bonbon blushed slightly at Lyra. Thank you, that really means a lot to me, she said softly, looking up to Chris again. And I think I can manage well enough on my own to cook for both of us. So you don't have to worry about me eating Lyra's cooking, she teased, sticking her tongue out slightly. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't enjoy it if you came down to see us, and, well, if you're in the mood to cook, I wouldn't stop you. Deal, Chris said, simply with a warm smile. Lyra leaned back and smiled at them both. She snuffled a few times before wiping the tears from her eyes. I can't believe this, she muttered softly. Believe what? Chris asked. You two, you both really like each other, just like I knew you would, Lyra said happily, holding a hoof to her chest with a soft glowing smile. Well, I may be willing to give the herd a try now, but Chris and I have one condition, Bonbon said, looking up to Chris with a slight smirk. Chris blinked a few times in confusion, but soon started to grin weakly before nodding his head in understanding. Bonbon looked back to Lyra, unable to hide her now wide smirk. If you really want to give the herd a chance, then we have something you must do for us. What is it? Lyra questioned nervously. Whatever it is, I'll do it. I'll do anything. Chris and Bonbon looked into each other's eyes before laughing softly. Lyra watched them both and frowned wearily. I'm not going to like this, am I? The end. No, you're not. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching and listening to what you guys do, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye. I'm not laggy right now. And here, there's gonna be like a VOD of this anyways. We're fine, brother. You know, I think I would like you to be involved with all the bullshit that I've been doing, because I'm out here. I already sold Jacob a horse. What do you want, sir? I'll get you a car, I'll get you anything. I'll get you a truck for 1 mil, 150. We got this. I'll sell a banana peel. I'll sell a banana.